Hello, this is Heretic Prince, reporting from the ship Knight of Justice. The Helldivers have completed their greatest major order yet. Push back the Sony offensive. For those of you who may not know, Sony had decided that even PC players should have to create a PlayStation Network account. That alone was bad enough, but this also created the problem of 177 countries no longer being able to play the game because they cannot create PlayStation accounts. But what made this story amazing is that this was a victory for the gamers. Sony had to reverse this decision because of the combined efforts of the Helldivers, the fans of this game. And at the risk of busting my nut early here, in terms of what's happening with the gaming industry right now, this reminds me of Rocky 4, when Rocky is getting beat up, but then he swings, hits Drago, and Drago is cut. Blood drips from his eye. Now, by no means is this a winning blow. By no means did that win Rocky the victory, but it did mean that he can win. And so I'll welcome you to join me in just going through to relive this small victory. Now, you may be wondering, how would Sony justify such a thing? Well, there's two ways, but first I want to cover this one. A Polygon article had this to say: Sony claims account linking with PlayStation Network is critical to the safety and security of Helldivers 2. This is our main way to protect players from griefing and abuse by enabling the banning of players and that engage in that type of behavior. This is important to me to read this out. Helldivers and Helldivers 2 are games that make fun of propaganda. That's why they are so much fun. That's why they are so comical. Is what you doing good or bad? It doesn't matter as long as you scream for managed democracy while you do it. And you can see that here. For safety and security, we need your personal data. They really thought that people that are huge fans of a game that takes the piss out of propaganda wouldn't see through this propaganda. This is almost a comedy in itself. Now, the more savvy listeners probably are also aware that the PSN was a requirement at the beginning of the game, but it got disabled because of the server issues. And when they disabled it, they always planned on bringing it back, but I'll cover that a little bit later. Here is the post from PC Gamer saying Sony doubles down, removing Helldivers 2 from sale in 177 countries and territories that can't access PSN, while Arrowhead CEO says, I don't have the final say. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find it here, but I know that there was a banner going around saying, we all dive together or not at all. So this was bigger than just, oh, I don't want to punch my email address in. There were a lot of people who were not going to be able to play the game anymore. And this is a hell of a game that encourages everybody to work together on a much bigger scale than just the 4 players who dive onto a planet. Every soldier matters in the Galactic War, and these people have done a fantastic job of making us feel that. To the point to where some people even want Xbox players involved, ending the console wars, which, quite frankly, as an old man myself, I am happy to see. Now, before I go much further and people start asking, well, what did the community actually do? Well, a lot of people in the community, people who had already bought the game, had started to refund the game. Steam said, hey, it doesn't matter if you played over 2 hours, you can still refund the game. A lot of people did. A lot of people in these countries that wouldn't be able to play again did. And those people still playing showed their support by giving negative reviews, which is what we see here. A lot of people have been saying that we should have a cape that is based on those negative reviews. I saw this tweet that by Cabrutus, which I felt may catch that spirit well. They said, I just hope that developers take note on what is happening to Stellar Blade and Helldivers 2. Maybe they will start realizing, or maybe they'll start to realize how important it is to not make deals with big publishers, especially Sony, which is by far the worst of them all. Develop your game freely and make it available to anyone on any platform. Make sure to hire good CMs, or community managers, who will listen and respect your community, and never ever be afraid of journalists or DEI consultancy companies. Believe me, they cannot quote unquote terrify you. Of course, this is harkening back to when these companies said that you need to terrify the developers. Isn't there a name for the strategy of terrifying your opposition? And then he concludes by saying, trust your community, the gaming community, we have your back. Now, of course, whenever anybody stands up to a major corporation, they will find themselves having opposition by people who are hoping to get in good with those companies or whatever. They've bent the knee. Space King of Humanity said, I hope developers take note of two different and completely unrelated events and listen to a handful of whiny, sexually repressed man babies. A handful. There were enough to take Helldivers from overwhelmingly positive to mixed. And here's what just amazes me about this. Let's face it, this person's woke. Sexually repressed. Everything comes down to sex to these people. Some people, I'd seen it said, were like, oh my god, so much negativity over making an email address. It only takes 2 minutes. Thinking that this whole thing was over having to enter your email address. Did these people watch 300 and think that the Spartans went to war, honestly, over a handful of earth and water? Is that what they think? They think that Leonidas was just a man who went to war because somebody asked for a handful of earth and water? God, what a man baby. If you have to come up with an argument so disingenuous as to say, oh, it's only about entering your email address into something, when you know that's not it. No, if your arguments rely on being that disingenuous or stupid, you should really rethink your argument. Well, in the end, that handful of man babies and crybabies and sexually repressed individuals must have been more than a handful, because PlayStation released this saying, Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning on May 30th, will not be moving forward. We're still learning what is best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. I bet it has. It's been invaluable trying to figure out how to pull that boot out of your ass. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans. And this is heartening. It's like, oh my god, are gaming companies going to start paying attention to the gamers again? Instead of a bunch of perpetually offended crybabies who think that everything should capitulate to them, even though they don't buy or play games. Now, of course, this came with its own meltdown, which is so, it would be fun to watch if it wasn't so confusing. Such as Cabrutus again said they hate when gamers win because they hate gamers. And then he's got a screenshot of Alyssa Mercante, the legendary games journalist who hates gamers, went on a rant that I honestly don't even understand. I've read through it a few times. It's hard to read her stuff. I've read a few of her articles, and let me tell you, they were slogs to get through. But I'll just read the first tweet here. Really don't love the recent collection of events in this industry that are embodying the worst behaved actors, aka dissenters. If companies were actually considering talking about the hate movement bubbling right now, it'd be a lot harder for them to co-opt everything. I don't even know what the fuck that means. I guess she's asking that companies talk about the quote-unquote hate movement. Of course, hate being anybody who doesn't bend down on one knee and kiss her ass. Of course, they think everything's hate. Yeah, you know what? I hate fucking miserable games. I hate bullshit games. I hate poor quality games. How about that? How about you stick that in your pipe and smoke it? Now, Pilstead, or Pilstead, I think it's Pilstead, said, "Firstly, I am impressed with the willpower of the Helldivers2 community and your ability to collaborate. Secondly, I want to thank our partners and friends at PlayStation for quickly and effectively making the decision to leave PSN linking optional. We together want to set a new standard for what a live game is and how developers and communities can start to support each other to create the best gaming experiences." Which is a classy move. He's not dunking on Sony here, and I don't know if that would be his prerogative. He is thanking them for doing what he believes to be the right move, which is taking a much higher moral high ground than I did, I admit. And here's another thing to speak to Pilstead's character. There was a tweet saying, "Why are you acting all blameless?" Right? And this is the major point of the tweet. And this is the CEO or director of Arrowhead's response, which I liked. "I do have a part to play. I am not blameless in all of this. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirement, and we didn't talk about it enough. We knew about it 6 months before the launch, and it would be mandatory for online PlayStation titles." Now, some people could cast a little shade at him, and understandably so, but at least he's owning it. At least he's saying, yes, I am somewhat at fault here. And to me, I see it as an admission of dropping the ball to not making sure that the players knew. So they're owning responsibility. I leave it up to anybody listening or anybody who's aware of this, whether or not they want to forgive him or blame him or what have you. You can make your own judgments. Then one more tweet from Pilstead said, "To all the Helldivers2 out there, or members of the community is what I mean to say, with the negative sentiment around account linking, a concern from the team came up about, is it tone deaf to release a new paid war bond this soon? And therefore we are putting it to a real vote in true democratic fashion. So please guide us. Would you rather have the new war bond today or tomorrow, or delay it?" Now, there's several ways to see this. It could be just a bit of comedy. Of course, everybody knows that we're going to want the war bond as soon as possible. But then again, it could also mean that there's an understanding of how strong of a community this game has built, and that we will hold people responsible and accountable for whenever they screw around. I gave my own reaction to this. I said our reaction was to the account linking, not the releasing of content. I think you guys are doing a great job. Must be a lot of pressure heading one of the best live service games ever. Now, yeah, you can say I'm sucking up to the people, but I mean it. I try to remember that we're talking about real, honest people here. Now, well, you know what I mean? They're actual real people. These are not algorithms. They're not perfect. I believe that they were creating a game that they thought might see a little bit of success and then it would die down. No, they didn't expect it to take off like the train it has. But I tell you what, why don't you guys tell me what you think? I'm happy to hear comments and opinions on this because I do not consider anything I've said here to be ironclad. I just know that a game was created that I really liked, and I saw the gamers come together for one of the first times ever to push back a major corporation and tell them, you listen to us. Not all these other people out here. Not people pressuring you because, oh, well, they might try to cancel you or they might call you a bigot. But no, we said, oh, you can kiss our money goodbye. And they listened. It's possible. We can win. As always, thank you so much for listening and letting me share my opinion with you. This is Heretic Prince, signing off.